Come in.
We're live.
You're between these two gentlemen. Said without any cynicism.
Now we're going to start it. Yes, we're live.
Okay.
Okay, right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the meeting of the Sandwich Tollbridge Finance Committee. It's Wednesday the 17th and it's just turned 6:30. And looking around the room, we are quorate, so we will start the meeting now, if that's all right with everybody. So, first of all,
You're ready on this?
you're ready, okay. Any apologies for absence received?
Yes. Councillor P. Carter has a personal, C. Carter has a personal commitment, D. Carter has a work commitment, and D. Marie has a personal commitment.
Okay, thank you. Item 12.25.2. Are there any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest from members in respect of business to be transacted on the agenda tonight? No, thank you. The next item, 12.25.3, is the minutes of the Finance Committee held on the 19th of November. Are there any comments, questions, etc.? There's a lot of items that have been completed now, but are there any questions or anything people want to raise?
Is that attachment 3?
Oh,
Is that attachment 3?
attachment 3, yes.
I was just going to mention under 11.25.3 there was Mayor and Councillor Mallet will be meeting with DDC to discuss the forthcoming car parking strategy and report at the 17th of the 12.25 meeting, which is tonight.
Today.
However, we did pick it up at the full STBF on Monday.
Monday, we did, yes.
And we've also got a supplementary report. So the meeting that myself and Councillor Mallet had happened, and I fed that into the full meeting. So I don't really expect to go through it in detail again.
Well, we'll see how it goes, but I would be surprised if we did. Any other comments?
I'm happy to propose a minute if there's no other comments.
Proposer, seconder, please. So, Councillor Wells, seconding. Are we all in agreement? That's unanimous. Thank you. Do you want to sign just now? I'll sign. I initial the first few. And then.
You do do that, sorry.
Sorry? That's no problem. Yeah.
You don't need to do that initial system.
Just have to sign the top one there. It's fine.
You're live.
We're live again, okay.
It's a case of sending this to the operators, getting the information back, to then sit down and really, explore this and explore what is going to be important going forward. Because at the moment, there's absolutely no control whatsoever. Those tariffs could go up and you wouldn't be in better control.
Okay, can I open this for discussion? Councillor Wiles first.
It's a good report from the property manager, very comprehensive. Thank you, Julie, with all the data and information. I'm just wondering if this is premature, given that we made a decision to extend the lease, and the purpose of that was to give us more time to look at this in great detail.
This is what I assumed that we need the time for to actually to talk to the companies, and presumably we'll have a couple of iterations.
Sorry, just going back from that. This is a site that we own. Is there anything that says it has to be a car park going forward? It's a brownfield site which could be developed. There's lots of different options. But the other thing is, if there's a different operator on each half of the car park, perhaps with different tariffs, that could be confusing for drivers. So we need to I just think we need to give this a bit more consideration.
Yes? Julian, you want
Yes,
to
as I
respond?
said, yes, this is not an instant decision. This is going to be over a period of probably 6 or 7 months. We're looking to get to around about July, August, I think, before being able to make adjustment. Because also we will be receiving the figures for the current year, and we know where we're at with that as well from DDC. So although I have focused on the car park, yes, it does present potential opportunities for development. And as part of I mean, most of my developments I've done have been car parks, but when I get everything together, in a more detailed report, then I think we can sit down and look.
Okay, so I'll come back to that. So basically, you want us, I think we should take the investigation further forward, that we will have at least a couple more discussions about this. And once we've got some more figures, we can then have a strategic view. Does this remain a car park? I've got Councillor Chuck and I've got Councillor Pennington.
So this is a starting point, and it's important that
Yes.
we take the time that we need to do it. So 14 months will soon burn, I'm sure. Just a couple of comments. I don't know if, John, can you recall how much do we get from our investment for 24/5? Because it only came through in November or so. What was the amount of money we got for the car park? Is it in here?
Yes, 30,000.
Sorry, yes,
30,291.
it's actually down on the previous year.
Yeah. So, thank you. And I knew it was in there, but some numbers all over the place.
Yeah.
It gets very confusing. I think the will is there to get the best value, and if the best value is to not do it via DDC, that's where we would end up. That's the principle. Because I think the reality will probably throw out something else, which is we probably won't do any better with another party. But it is exactly right that we need to do that, because there are other considerations, and Councillor Larson's mentioned some of them. Confusion about different car parks. It does happen elsewhere in the country, so it's not unique. But I think the RFP is excellent. I read it, and I thought if I was picking it up at the other end, I'd understand it. I'd know what I was being asked to bid on. So I think that's really good. There's no confusion for me in that. We did ask a question around the percentages and what I would do. And I know I'm just just tweaking numbers.
Yes.
I think operational capability and technology is important. So I wouldn't leave it looking there as the least important. So I would move it up to 20%, and I just shave 5% off financial return, just to.
Yeah.
The thing is in the basket. They're all important.
Yes.
Okay.
They're all important.
Thank you.
But I think we have to have the technology, and we have to have the capability from
Yeah.
whoever does it. Just trying to see if there are any other markings. Now, the only other thing I was going to say, it was interesting to see how much money the back end of the car park earns versus the front end.
Yes.
Now, I know there's 50 odd spaces versus 111.
Yes.
But it is interesting, because you would have thought people would be drawn to be at the front to
Yes.
save their weary legs.
It's quite deceiving. I kept going out there counting the
So if
spaces.
I have to get to Sandwich Town Council.
Yes.
That's what it is. Councillor Pennington.
Yes, thank you. It was a thought that I had on Monday night, concerned that we should, in saying we'll extend it for 14 months, not fall into the trap, basically saying we think about it again in 14 months. And is there a timeline within the 14 months for when inquiries need to be made, when data will be available,
Yes.
and whether, how far in advance of that 14 months we need to, in
Exactly.
practical terms, take a decision?
So practically, I'd like to be in a position within 6 or 7 months. But the interesting information will come when we receive the current figures. To see, we've obviously got the 24-25, but we haven't got the 25-26 one yet. When we get those, if we can press those to come through sooner, that would also be part of the, part of the equation. But consideration, yes. So I would like this, within 6 or 7 months, because it's say time will go by. The other thing is if you do it too soon, the information's going to be out of date anyway by the time you actually make a decision, because the parking charges could have changed, and and the companies may not be there or something. So we've got to be at the right time. But I'm thinking 6 or 7 months.
Yeah, might I make a suggestion before I invite Councillor Huntington to speak? That, of course, we often don't have meetings in August, and that says to me we really need to have this no later than July.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Anderson.
Yes, I'd just like to ask a more discursive question about the objectives, because they seem to me to be potentially contradictory, particularly point maximise revenue return to the charity and support town centre footfall and economic activity. And I think this point about taking back control or taking control, we have to be very careful about it. We are, if we go down this route, presenting ourselves with presenting the town council with very considerable headwinds. There'll be huge pressures from all sorts of diverse communities.
Yes.
We owe the residents of Sandwich, we need to keep the precept down as far as we can, but at the same time, we want to support local businesses. And I'm a little bit cautious, feel a little bit cautious. In a way, with DEC running the operation, we escape all that potential unpleasantness. And there will be real problems year on year about how to set the parking charge and whose interests to take into account. And I can envisage town council meetings becoming extremely fraught as a consequence. And I'm just issuing a word of caution about that.
I think I have similar concerns that we buy a lot of trouble as well, and a lot of flexibility. Councillor Reid.
Yeah, just following on from what Councillor Pennington was saying about the timescale, section 9 of your RFO talks about the procurement timeline and the dates to be advised.
That's right.
I think, now that you've got the guidance and the go-ahead from this, or it seems as though you've kept the go-ahead from this meeting, we should really work that and work it through in line with the meetings. And then my second point is, in terms of the evaluation criteria that you've cited, you do need to work on the actual detailed criteria and the measurements, how you're going to assess the 40% and the 25%. You do need to have detailed criteria supporting that. It doesn't necessarily have to go out in the RFO, but you do need to be able to have it should you be asked, and obviously when you present a recommendation.
Okay.
Which I suppose triggers a point in terms, it will be essential that any evaluation is agreed through this committee, because I would argue that we might want to have councillor representation on that as well. I'll argue it, I might lose it as an argument, but I'm just thinking that, we're not at that stage yet in terms of the methodology, should we say. So I think we need to discuss the methodology.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Other points? Because I've got 2 or 3 points I'd like to make before we bring this to a close. Let me understand this. You said that we would lose the off-street, all of the off-street parking permits. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that's about 37,000?
Yes.
Yeah, 36,000, 430, yeah. So we need to think of that as well, what effect that has. And the other issue is we charge business rates because it's not in Dover District, you're paying business rates in Dover District. Seems a bit perverse, but probably costs more to collect it actually. Yeah. But we will continue to pay business rates, and do they have a particular exemption or lower rate?
Reduction, that's right, because it's STBF. So
Right.
it'd be under STBF with a discount, the same we do in the hub, so it'd be discounted 80%.
Right.
So yes, 80% discount.
Okay, but we need to be very clear that we will be
certainly
losing a significant amount of money.
Absolutely.
And that may be an argument which says don't go there finally when we pull everything together. And that may outweigh some of the other advantages. We don't know yet.
Sorry, but conversely, we may get some of the enforcement penalty payments, because at the moment we don't.
We don't, exactly, we don't. And also, we will need to get that end of the car park valued for the value office before we be able to get the figure, because at the moment it would be the whole lot, won't it?
Yeah, and also the interesting thing about it was, if I can just add, is that the council department said that the costs, being things such as the enforcement costs and so forth, they just take the total number of spaces across Sandwich and divide it. Now, if you've got one location with everyone together, that must be far cheaper than wandering around the whole town doing all the different locations and picking up the individual ones. And so proportionally, we're probably picking up more of the enforcement costs than we should do, really, because, but I mean, I know it's semantics, but it's, you know, if we were doing that, it wouldn't cost us much to have someone just come to that location.
I can say with certainty, as much as I can, that where we will benefit is that, and could be a problem as far as permit holders will not be able to use our car park. So if you look at the income that comes in and the paying display, I think that we're going to have, I believe we're going to have more, I think we're going to have more people coming into our car park.
I think that's part of the reason why the revenue is also so different between the two car parks, because people coming in who are working here, they are jumping into the nearest car park to where they work.
Yes.
As councillor Ungerton was saying, there's going to be complaints from residents if they're paying for a permit for the town and can't use it in, you know, a car
Yes,
park
that
use
is,
site.
yes, yeah.
These are the practical problems.
But I also think that by giving it, you know, the length of time that we've given, I would hope that would, you know, that DDC would be able to notify the people. But as I said before, that there is a possibility. I mean, that I'm looking at, obviously there were four options that we could get to the place where we actually look at it. Everyone sits down and says, you know, it's not a bad deal what's actually out there at the moment.
That's what I think we may end up with.
Yeah.
That's what we've got both minds.
But until we look at the rest, who knows? Yeah.
Coming back to the enforcement, I was surprised that there were about 28% of the costs. That seems a blooming high cost. And yes, I think you're right. So we would only be liable for enforcement in the car park, and which, whether you do ANPR or some other mechanism, but it's purely overstays or non-payment in the car park. We would have no responsibility for the public highway.
No.
Okay, so that also takes a burden off us. Okay, right. Well, we first of all have to then, are we happy to receive this report? And then the second issue is, do we wish to go ahead with the RFP? So I think there's two separate issues. Could I first of all get a proposer to receive this report? Councillor Tsuka, Councillor Green, receive the report. Unanimous. The second, I do think the RFP is well structured. I think it does ask the information that we really want. And I'd be quite happy to propose.
Can we move the percentage just by 5% just to
So
balance it?
whereabouts in that?
So this is where the criteria that will
Yes.
be, the weighting, sorry.
The weighting, yes, that's right, yeah. So you want to move it?
I just want to move the operating capability and technology to 20 and reduce the financial return to 35.
Okay. All agree with that? Okay, so I've got a proposal then to follow this subject to the amendment that Councillor Tsuka has proposed. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Anderson, seconded Councillor Green. Unanimous.
Sorry, was it Councillor Tudor and Councillor Green again?
Sorry,
I think it's premature.
sorry, what is premature, sorry?
Sending this out now, I think is premature before
Okay,
we've discussed it thoroughly.
but we have a clear
It's
majority.
wasting the time of potential providers, possibly.
That's a view that, of course, you're entitled to. That we
Right,
have
so
majority.
one abstention or
No, one.
one member against?
One against, I think, and the rest were for. Okay, sorry,
And finally, I'd like, as I said earlier, the procurement timeline. Now that you've got this, if you can kind of complete that and keep us updated on what the timeline is.
yes, we did request that, where we have to be aware that summer breaks and a lot of people are not here, so that does give us a requirement no later than July.
And is there anything that can be done in parallel to look at the viability of the piece of land being used for other purposes?
Yes, definitely.
Because we don't want to leave it 6 months
No.
and then say, and what about using it for building on? And we find out 4 months later that it's never going to happen for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So,
I can do that, and a combination of both.
So can I just summarise then what we've agreed to note this report? We've agreed with the RFP subject to the 5% variation. We've agreed that we will, this report needs to be available for no later than July. And we've also agreed that we want to have at least an outline review of what other uses might be appropriate.
Yeah.
Have I got, is that everything?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Moving on then to item 9, which is, we've got 2 separate things about Guildhall charges. First of all, a report about, from the Assistant Town Clerk, about weddings and events in the Guildhall. So there are 2 separate issues here. I did,
Sorry, may I just
yes,
read out the recommendations which weren't included?
yes, I'm just looking for them.
Yeah, so I'm really sorry, it's my fault. I asked the assistant clerk to add recommendations
yes.
and I saved them and the wrong PDF got attached, so I'm really sorry about that. The recommendations are to receive the report,
Yeah.
to agree the budgetary spend for marketing refresh and social media presence, to agree the budgetary spend for the redecoration proposed, and to agree the proposed pricing structure for weddings and large-scale events going forward.
okay. If you could remind us at the end of the meeting then, of this section, of the 4.
Yes,
the
but
4
just to
items, yeah.
keep you in the loop.
Thank you. No, you're right, because that's what you and I had a conversation about earlier on today.
Sorry.
There was a sort of stunned silence for a moment there. Whoa. I did have a long conversation with her, and I think, bear in mind that our new assistant clerk does come up with wedding experience in the sense of, I think she ran it for one of the, is it Portland? Yeah, and so she's got a lot of experience in this. I did ask her quite a number of quite difficult questions about what's the state of the market and so on. I'll open this to people to ask any questions first of all. Councillor Tuka?
So I think it's a very good report.
Yes.
I think it's how we should be shaping up this part of our organisation in terms of making it far more financially astute. I think a number of the suggestions in terms of improvements are sensible, but I think we need to have a conversation about the funding of that. So I think in principle I'm fully supportive. I think it's a good proposal, and for me the costs that are indicated in terms of charges for hiring the building in different shapes and sizes don't seem excessive at all in terms of the market. That's it, very personally. But the funding is the issue for me, the 9,900.
Okay. Other questions or points to raise? Councillor Green.
I'm still really dubious of these pricing levels, that with all of the effort that goes in by way of showing 5 couples around before you get one booking and investing 15 or 20 hours before you get one booking, and then all of the time that's being spent by the resources preparing for it and maybe giving them early access to the room, all of the security staff and so forth. I'm not convinced that with the returns that the prices that are being quoted, we're going to make enough money for the effort.
Okay. Councillor Wells.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the following report makes it clear that the income is offset by the staffing expenditure or expenditure, leading to a net profit, if you like. It would have been helpful if that was included in this report as well, because I'm aware from personal experience, obviously, there's various costs associated with any wedding in terms of showing people around, the staff who have to be there on the day, etc., etc. So plus all the overheads. So it would be useful to see, regardless of the increases we're proposing, what the kind of net income might be in each case.
Okay. Any other questions, Councillor Anderson?
Yes, what the information that we haven't been given is any comparators. We don't know, I have no idea, for example, what the Bell Hotel charges.
It's very difficult to compare like
They
with
won't
like.
tell you.
No, they won't tell you.
Will you
And to which
go
they
along saying
will-
that is comparing?
well, we'll do that if we get the, but the thing is, they will be providing a price per head, including the food.
Yeah.
And what we don't do is that. So we're sort of like a very, very glamorous village hall, basically. And that's very important. We discovered today in terms of VAT and so on, that we maintain that offering and don't go down the price per head. You know, I know round me, round where I live, Chilham Village Hall, which it ain't a patch on this place, is £1,000. I know that Fordwich is not dissimilar. So, you know, I know that, but it's very hard to get numbers out of people. I think if you, maybe an easier way to think about it is if you divide the Delph will take 150. If you divide that by 150, you'll get a price per head for the hall hire, and then think how much catering will cost you, and then you're getting close to, you know, the kind of numbers that you might think of a Bell, but a Bell package will be 60, 70 quid a head. So it's pretty good value.
John, and then
Sorry, I was just going to say that there possibly are some places that you can do comparisons with. Piedmont in Broadstairs might be one to do something with or to look at, because it is a hall type place which is smaller. What this has here is the benefit of people who want a lot more numbers, and that is very difficult to find anywhere. And it does. I personally think that the potential marketability is really, really strong because of the fact that it can do good numbers.
Yeah.
And a lot of places just can't do that when you start looking at church halls and so on and so forth. But it is just, as you say, a glamorous hall that we're hiring out. It is glamorous.
Councillor Tucker,
Yeah,
and then Julie after.
it's difficult also, so there are so many variables in terms of providing a venue for weddings. This is not the full package where somebody walks in the door and they're told, we'll do it all for you,
No.
and this is the price. And then we can talk about actually the costs of staffing, etc., eat significantly in, and that's true. But at the end of the day, we could do that with a lot of things we do. We could convince ourselves, I think, with most things that we do, we shouldn't do them. I think we need transparency around the costs, but I think as a venue in the heart of a town, we should be providing it for the community, and one of the things that the community enjoys doing is using this for weddings. The issue about is elsewhere, you're not going to attract many people into travel 20, 30 miles to this building. So our population isn't massive, and we have to work within those constraints. So that's just my point. You can pitch it too high and then you just won't get interest because of all the things in terms of the variables. You have to take the effort on board yourself as a couple that are getting married. You've got to go out and sort the caterers. You've got to sort out everything else. We do a package that's at a much lower level.
We do, and I did actually ask at the meeting, the phone meeting you had, and the costs really, whilst they're very hard to answer, really, they range anything from, as you say, Chilham with about £1,000 to easily £8,000 for a venue, just for the venue. So it does vary tremendously. Well, what do you want to do, folks? Do you want to ask and defer this, or sorry, go ahead.
Just like to say, not asking to do anything that we don't do already.
No,
We
well,
already
I'm
do
come on to that,
this.
We do.
So it's just, I mean, what did we talk about today? About throwing a bit of glitter on it, basically. That's what,
Glitter was the word, yes.
you know,
Can I, if I may? It was me who put the prices up or suggested the prices went up last time. We were paying, we were charging £600 and it was costing at the time £640. Details were provided. So we were losing money. So it was me who said, look, you know, let's put the prices up. And we've done well. You know, we are having weddings, but we need to be marketing this place. You know, so I did say, you know, to Paige, run it again and say, look, you know, we've put the prices up, but run it again just based on the same amount that we've got. We're having people that we've missed that we could get. What I'd like to do is to look and say, well, how many people were local? How many people came out of the area? At the moment, it's being promoted by another company who put obviously their show on. They provide the food, the drinks, and all the decoration. But I really feel we should be getting behind this. I mean, this is the opportunity to make, to make money. And it was a jump to go from the 600 to the 1500. And I think Paige is in a very good position with her, with her background, and we know what we've achieved. We just need marketing. This is what we suffer from: lack of marketing.
Yeah, Councillor Wells first, please. And then
Yeah,
Councillor
I mean, I'm happy to support the recommendations and see how it goes for the next year.
Okay, Councillor Anderson.
Yes, I would just like to say, having had a celebration in the Guildhall, not a wedding, that what struck me then was that there was absolutely no advice given about caterers, about how to go about getting cutlery, plates, and
we can do
also
that.
table decorating. And I do think that we ought to offer a sort of quasi package, which is here
we can
we're
certainly
selling
offer,
the
we can
venue
offer
and
advice and contacts, I think.
Yes,
is what we
it's
can
very
advise.
important,
But we can do all of that. And I was talking I went to have tea with Father Sebastian as well, and we were talking about wakes. And, apparently he does one wedding, one wake, he does a funeral a week. It's a different end of the market, but, again,
It's a great business.
yeah. He was talking to me about, how we could do that. But I think in terms of, there's some costs in there for the marketing, which if it falls flat on its face, we will lose. But other than that, the costs are for a refreshed and redecorated and looking really smart and lovely front hall. And, so.
And bear in mind that we've actually already got some bookings, so we're unless we do something, we're going to lose even more money. So we are where we are.
Is next year's budget taking account of these costs or are these new costs?
These costs are already in the budget. They were put forward for the last meeting, and it was in there. So
Yeah. What was said at the last meeting was that you said you wanted more information, so here's the more information.
Yeah. And don't forget, redecorating this building is not just for the benefit of weddings.
No.
That's
We
right.
have a host of other users, and they will also appreciate the surroundings, and hopefully will grow other users of the building.
Yes.
So, do we wish to get more defer this to get more information, or do we take this as a pretty well thought out report and drive forward with it? I agree that the marketing has been an area that we have not done much at, and if you could change that. And it's not just the marketing, it's also one point of contact and so on, because the point that needs someone to phone a museum, then they get somewhere else and so on. The point that Councillor Anderson has made is that we can't give you this advice, we can't give you that advice. This would be the person who's perfectly competent to do that. Not provide, I think that's providing a wider package is a different ballgame. I don't think we should be getting into that until we really are confident that we're running a profitable operation and then see what further developments might be. But On this basis, what do we want to do? Because the first question, you said, sorry, Councillor.
So I'd like to, Councillor Wiles has proposed already, but we have 3 recommendations. Should we go through those?
Yes, that's what I was just going to ask.
So move to receive the report. Councillor Wiles has proposed it, seconded it. Yeah, Councillor Chuka, I'm sure everyone's, I don't want to.
Right, is that unanimous? Yes.
To agree the budgetary spend for the marketing refresh and social media presence.
That's the second
Yeah.
recommendation. Do we agree the marketing spend?
Which is in the budget.
Which is in the
It's in
budget.
the- Which is already in the budget, which,
So I'm happy to do that because of the budgets.
okay,
Okay.
Councillor Chuka proposing, Councillor Wiles seconding. Thank you.
Okay, are you happy with the creation of the new website? Or do we want to take that to a different audience?
It strikes me that it's such a key part of marketing. You really honestly have to do it.
Okay.
Without it, we're,
It's a recommendation from the assistant clerk, isn't it, that we
Yeah.
do that?
I think so. There is also, I can send out some websites of councils that have done this very effectively, and you'll see exactly why I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
okay, Councillor Wiles first.
I'm not opposed to that, but I'm just thinking that I see a lot of Goodnestone on Instagram.
Goodnestone?
It's a place.
Yeah, I know Goodnestone,
It's a
yeah.
wedding venue. It's a garden.
But it's not equivalent.
No,
Yeah,
it's a bigger deal, but it's, they market a lot through
Yeah.
Instagram.
yeah.
So whether that's something we could think.
Yeah, but
Yes.
that's in the report.
alongside.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what, yes, definitely.
Yeah, the marketing is a huge gap we've got at the moment.
Yeah, okay.
So let's recap then, are we content that we also make the changes to marketing?
Yeah.
Yes, can I have a proposal please? Councillor Wiles, seconding Councillor Tucker? And is that unanimous? So have we answered all of the questions that were asked of us?
No, and the last one was to agree the budgetary spend for two more, budgetary spend for redecoration. So that's basically tarting up the front hall, removing sort of,
That was the second
I
one.
thought that was in the
That
budget.
was there.
then.
so we've done marketing, then there's budgetary spend for
We
redecoration.
did that.
We did that, item 2.
Did we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Item
Okay.
2.
Okay,
And what was that, there was a.
and then the proposed pricing structure.
Well,
Yeah, 100%.
I'm confident that after a long conversation with her there today, that she's got a very good feel for what the pricing should be
Yes.
and how quickly we can change that price, because you can't go way over the top straight away, but as your reputation improves, you can then do something on price. So, Councillor Wiles.
Yeah, I think we have to remember that the assistant town clerk was appointed to a large degree on the basis of exactly this work.
Yes.
Wedding promotions,
Yes.
getting more business in because of her past experience. So I
Precisely.
think we should give her the chance to
I
show what she
would
can do.
agree with that, yeah. Okay, well, I'll propose that we accept the pricing structure. Can I have a second? Councillor Tucker? Is that unanimous? That is unanimous. Wait till somebody reads that we're going to be using this room for the bride to get ready in. I did ask the question.
We don't need to die on that hill.
Not on that. That's me put firmly back in my pocket.
Next door.
I think
Oh
if
no,
you're-
that would be more.
I sort of tried to visualise it, and I thought if you could get some screening that actually goes around, so it becomes its own
Yes.
Yes.
space within the
Yeah.
room, but
Yeah.
you don't see anything else, then
Yeah.
that would be fine.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, I did ask quite a few questions about that and what refreshment really meant and what it meant for cleaning up. Most of it was pretty basic housekeeping and looking fresh at some of the very basic things.
So she didn't mention the hairdresser chair and the Prosecco fridge.
Next door.
There's a bar in there.
The drinks cabinet.
Refreshed at every council meeting. I won't comment on the Prosecco. Right, thank you folks. Then the second item is on hire charges. So this is the about the charges for the Guildhall per se. June, do you want to talk to this?
Yes,
before we go into it?
So this is the non-wedding.
This is the non-wedding.
Non-wedding side. Okay, so we start off, let's look at income. We did 24 to 25, so year 24 to 25, 30,161. And then if you take the first 6 months of this year, we're up to 26,859 already. Times that by 2 to get a projected figure of 53,000. So that's gone up just under £20,000 here. Now a lot of that is to do with the hub. That is a major factor. But I'm not going to be patting anyone on the back and saying well done. We've got to make some, we've got to make changes. Now the wedding's one side. This is the non-wedding side. So if you look at the current charges that we have, they're very confusing. I think that's one of the problems that we've had. So someone booking up to 1 o'clock in the Delph Hall would be 125, but if they went over into the next bit, it could be another 125, and it's not per hour. It's, if they took 2 hours, it'd be the same price if they took it for 3 hours. It's very confusing. So what I'm looking at is a change to do it on an hourly rate. It's much easier then to work out what we're going to be charging. So I've calculated it based on an hourly rate for the main hall, the jury room, or the gallery. So Monday during the day, Monday to Friday evenings, Saturday daytime, Saturday evenings. And then I've done some examples. But before I go on to the examples, there's one thing I'd like to obviously tell you about. It's on here. And let's charge it. There's I'm proposing a surcharge for when alcohol is served. Mm-hmm. And I cannot begin to tell you how important that is. One, for the costing, because it will keep our costs down. And also from a safety and security point of view. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is, if you have up to 80 guests with alcohol being served, there's a surcharge of £10 per hour. And if it's over 80 guests, that would be £20 per hour. Now, this is for on the wedding side, it would be probably a different scenario on there, because obviously the fee structure would be higher as well. But I really like support on this, because it's something that's, it really is needed. We cannot expect, I will not accept it, a PAYE staff having to deal with someone who's been drinking. It's not the drink, it's if they're on medication, an instance that we've actually had that happened in this building. I've seen the videos of it. So I'd like support on that.
So just on that, Julian, if I just may, for an extra £10 an hour, you've got 80 people in, and you're going to charge them an extra £10 an hour.
It's nothing.
Yeah, but what's £10 an hour going to do? We can't hire somebody in for 10.
No, but we would have to have staff anyway. So what I'm saying, it's just a contribution towards staff. We would staff it anyway. We would be staffing the event in any case. Whether we charged, at the moment, we wouldn't charge, we would staff the event, so we wouldn't be charging them anything. We're giving them the staff as part of the higher fee structure.
So this
is that clear on that side?
I would have thought that if you've got 80 people and they've been drinking, however many staff you've got on, you probably need an extra person. And an extra person at £10 an hour wouldn't cover the cost of an extra person.
No, it's paying towards the cost within the charge that they have within their Saturday evening at £60 an hour. You're allowing for the fact that you've got staff costs. At the moment, it would, we're not charging £60 an hour. It's a lot less than we're paying for staff as well. So this is a way of, I said, it's not paying for everything, but it's paying towards staff, and we would already have staff.
Yeah, but if we're paying £60, if somebody's paying £60 an hour for the main hall on a Saturday, we're bringing in extra people at what, £20 an hour?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so we're going to have at least 2 people here. So that's £40
Yeah.
in staff. So out of the £60 they're paying now, £40 is going in staff.
Yeah.
And then they're running electricity and everything.
Yes, yeah.
You
So
know.
at the moment, it's a worse situation than that. But if we took the £60 an hour, at the moment we would have a member of staff being paid who's paying 20. So what I'm saying, at the moment we would have one member of staff being paid £20 an hour at the moment, and we're not charging out at £60, but we would have 20. What I'm saying is that they would pay a contribution towards the staff cost. At the moment, there is no contribution to the staff cost. It's all part of the hire. You get a member of staff.
So your suggestion, in essence, is though that if alcohol is going to be served, then there needs to be a significant increase in the hourly cost.
It's not even significant.
No, there's an additional amount that would be payable per hour.
15%.
15%, well, that's, okay, Councillor Wells.
Yeah, so I can see the point with the alcohol, but with the example you give, example 1, the additional fee is £80. There's alcohol surcharge, but the cost is £100 for the extra door supervisor. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, so the extra door said no, that would be that would be £200 altogether. Yeah, £100 per door staff.
So £80
Exactly.
per £100.
Yeah, so the whole staff cost would be £200. Yeah,
So £20 deficit.
yeah. But at the moment, if you took that same thing, so that's the main. Well, I'll give you an example what it would be like now. So at the moment, the set fee would be £150. We would have one door supervisor or one member of staff.
Yeah.
Actually, I wouldn't. If there was alcohol being served, I would have a door supervisor anyway. But I put down, I'll just have one door supervisor.
Yeah.
Let's say £100. Staff costs. So we've got net income 150 at the moment, minus £100 for staff costs, only gives us £50. And by the time you then put the electric gas on, then you're probably minus.
Councillor Turner, then.
So I think just to continue my point.
Yes.
I can understand the point with alcohol, but I think there's a qualitative difference between a riotous wedding, which goes on for 4 or 5 hours, and the Art Society, which gives a glass of wine. But would that be covered by the same?
So we would look at different events. For instance, there was an event here the other on Friday night, and there was alcohol being served. So we wouldn't on that instance. That was for the book reading. But on that fee, based on the current fee structure, the fee for the other night, a very successful night, would have been £110, and we've had to have a member of staff there costing £20 an hour for 4 hours, plus all the setting up cost as well.
Okay,
So,
Councillor Turner, then, yeah.
So in some ways, this is it's an imponderable problem in terms of trying to solve it. Because if you roll back the clock 12, 14 months ago, when we put the higher charges up for the building, we got certain kickback that was quite expressive, should we say.
Yeah, well,
And the question is, do we, as councillors who are representing the community, and does the community think actually we provide this building at a loss to us in terms of our budget? And that's the reality we're in. And the problem is I can't answer that question because fully, because I think we have to provide a community space, regular users, etc., but we can't afford it. And if we take it up to a level where actually we say sensibly, where we have a profit of margin of 20%, we then probably price out a significant number.
Right.
Because
I was going to come on with a question
sorry,
about
yeah,
the
just
benefits.
when I looked at the examples that are provided, anybody currently hiring out this building for their purpose, after 2 hours usage, they are going to be paying significantly more than they are now. That's the issue. I'm not saying it's the issue that we shouldn't accept and run with.
it's actually worse than that. It's actually worse than that. And yeah.
So it's 2 hours, and every booking is usually going to be more than, it's going to be 3-4 hours.
Right, Councillor Wells.
yeah, sorry, so the examples are given, I mean, the headline for me is it almost worth doing this because the net income is so little, but the report only covers staffing costs. So 4-hour booking on a Saturday evening, example 2, for example, the net income is £70. But then on top of that, there's the electricity, there's the heating.
That's right.
We're almost down
Filling
to,
in-
we're almost down to zero income.
It might put minus, because you've actually got the setting up of
Setting up,
everything as well.
setting up.
taking down.
And this is the point, yeah.
And does the fee begin when they move into the room and set up, or when the event starts?
Typically, we do it sometimes an hour before they actually start, so a 4 could be a 5. But again, yes, it's the cost of setting up. I've done it, setting up, taking down. But if this is a concern with this, the regular hires, it's a totally, I mean, this is great compared to what the regular hires. So this is the problem that we have. So the regular hires, I couldn't obviously mention that on campus, they're all bespoke prices.
Yeah.
But it's a totally different picture. I mean, heavily discounted compared to these fees.
Yeah.
And
Steve.
and at a different, totally different to these ones.
Yeah.
So my idea was we make, if we can make some money on this hires and then we've got to address the regular, the regular hires, but we still want a place that people can come to. I appreciate that.
Can I ask have we got any figures as to how competitive we are for these these one-off or special events, however we want to call it? Now, I understand the regular hires, the dance group, the Tai Chi group.
Yes.
They're regulars, and
That's right.
they probably don't cause a lot of things. They're not usually with alcohol. That's a bit milder. How do we, so putting the regulars to one side, how much competition have we got for this kind of hire in the area, and what price are they charging?
So we've got obviously St Mary's, and it will probably be along a similar price range. So we did lose a couple of people that way, who have now come back to us. So it will be similar to these prices, except when they have an event, they charge an extra £75 on top if it's a ticketed event.
Yes.
On that side, and it's quite unique. We've got, as you know, we've got all the different rooms, but to pinpoint the prices, I believe the prices that I've given on an hourly rate represents where it needs to be at. It can't be any lower because you just lose money, and you make it too high, you're going to lose lose the hirers. But I say it's what I've looked at then is with the regulars. Is there something else we can, that we can do on that side? Because our fees at the moment are lower than like what we call the church hire scenario, where you give them the keys and off you go and you come back later. We can't do that.
No.
We can't leave people just to be here. It would be great if we could, but we can't. We have to be here in the building throughout that duration.
Can I ask then, other councillors, there was an element of pushback. If we are not significantly increasing, we're not increasing costs for the regular hires, where was most of the pushback coming from? What were the particular areas that there was the pushback? Because we have to be realistic. This building doesn't pay for itself, and I'm afraid people in town are going to have to realise at some stage that is the reality.
I would say I'm not aware of personally of
Well,
pushback. I'd love to hear.
Councillors said there was a lot
Yeah.
of pushback. I'd like
Yeah.
to understand what it was about.
Yeah,
Sorry?
it was, no, we don't need to mention who it was.
I don't know. I need the name, but the kind of pushback.
Yeah, there was a regular event that took place here annually, and it got a lot of exposure.
Mm-hmm. Did they go elsewhere? Did they go elsewhere?
I don't think so.
No, we don't.
Okay.
I'd like to ask a more detailed question about the number 80 guests. I'm not quite sure why 80.
So,
given that The other point, because the marginal cost of having 81 guests is very, very high indeed. So, do we want to restrict people to having 80?
No, it's not about
But
restriction.
the second point I was going to make is about what constitutes a guest, and what about children? Or do we want, I mean, because for some of these events, there will be children
Yes.
as guests.
Yes.
So do they count
I
as?
wouldn't personally, no. No, I wouldn't count on those. There's got to be a cut-off, you have to have a cut-off point. So if you look at, take London, where, I've been involved in security there before. So under licensing regulations, they tend to have a 75, up to 75, up to 80. It seems to be like they recognise that you have one door supervisor for that, and then you go for two, and when it goes over 100, you tend to typically have one for 100. But it's not sort of rocket science. It can be. Of course, it could be adjusted, but it is, and it's not. The important thing is it's not necessarily stopping the trouble. It's more people you have. There's an incident. Typically it's medically related. So someone's has a medical incident because they're on certain medication. They have some drink. They have a problem, and the other person there is making sure that no one else goes into shock, making sure that they call the ambulance, making sure and organising it all. So for me, whether we just say, okay, don't put the extra, just add it on anyway and charge extra. Don't put a £10 or a £20, but we've got to have the right staff here to deal with instances where there's drink is being offered, and that is. I mean, it's so clear. It's so risky not to.
Okay, Councillor Tudor, then I'd like to bring this debate to an end.
I just say I've looked at St Mary's charges, and ours are comparable.
Correct.
Our proposed charges or our account charges? Proposed charges.
Yeah.
And that answers the question.
Yeah.
Councillor Reid.
Can I just say, we talk a lot in this chamber about the relationship between Sandwich Town Council and the Toll Bridge Fund. And this is, for me, it's all part of that big equation. We've really got to understand that when we are providing a civic amenity and allowing people to come in here, are we trying to recover our costs? Because for me, none of these things, we've got a huge staffing, you've in the costs for the finance officer, the cost for the property manager, the time involvement for the town clerk. When you roll all of these people into it, this isn't, even with these revised rates, isn't a profitable operation. If you were in business, you wouldn't last.
You'd lock the door and go.
You'd lock the door and
I'll
go.
tell you now.
So, I just want everybody to remember that.
Yes.
Because, at the end of the day, the building is being subsidised
Yes.
effectively by the Toll Bridge Fund.
Yeah.
And we, as trustees of the Toll Bridge Fund, having a meeting of the Toll Bridge
Yes.
Fund, should really be saying, we're just building a big problem for the future.
I think the daytime hire is a different scenario because the staff are here anyway, and that doesn't cause us the
Councillor Tudor, then.
So could we move to the proposal?
Well, we have three proposals at the end, have we not? The first proposal was stage one to agree to support stage one with new fees for the alcohol surcharge. Item two was to agree to support stage two, which is the adjustments to staffing. We haven't talked about that in detail. I don't necessarily think we need to. And then to agree or not on stage three to support further investigations of the potential trial. I think we've discussed stage one quite comprehensively. And do I have a proposal for the fees as laid out here? Councillor Wiles, you're proposing, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Bennington, could I have a vote, please? That is unanimous. We did not discuss item two, the adjustments to staffing, but I think they are to my mind, they are sensible and they're looking at ways to provide the service at a sensible cost rather than the existing historic way of approaching things. Does anybody want to discuss this, or do we want to take this and take it forward as is?
I propose we
Proposed. Councillor Turker seconding. Right, that's unanimous again. And the third item that was to be voted on is to agree to support further investigation and a potential trial. How long was the potential trial you were thinking?
I was going to look at just for a couple of months. I was looking at with a regular hire where they would have a steward.
Oh, right.
Where they would have a steward who would be first aid trained and would go through, would understand complete the fire drills as well. We would still have a member of staff come back later on in the evening
Yes.
to lock up and set the alarm. I just wanted to do a trial to see what savings that could bring doing that.
Okay. Do I have any questions about that? We
Was
have
it a case of alcohol? Wasn't it?
No, definitely cannot be with alcohol. That would be for any evening. That would be an evening and a regular, even and a regular only.
Yes.
Nothing to do with that. No, we couldn't do it.
No, okay.
The insurance company will not cover it.
No, I understand that. Do I have a proposal for that? Yes, Councillor Wild. Seconder? Councillor Turco, do I have a vote, please? That is unanimous. Thank you. Took a bit longer than I thought, but
Sorry,
there we go. Then 2510, moving on, draft for the 26-27 budget. Members are invited to review the amended budget. And I'll ask the interim finance officer if you want to give us a quick. Sorry?
Do you want me to turn the telly on?
Yes, yes, thank you.
I'm trying to wait.
John, do you want to? I don't want to bother you.
No, just need green.
tea.
Oh, right. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you.
Maybe it's the sauce. Let's look.
It's okay, it's really. Just get them to fit.
That makes sense.
I know, I saw that earlier. I was like, yeah, let's go for it.
Is it good with Game of Thrones then, is it?
PC. You?
Sorry? Yeah, if you go with that, I'll be on that a second. Add to the STBF.
Yeah.
Which next meets. Right there, right.
I wonder which. Do you have any ideas about this, John? Oh,
Wait a second.
oh, you're plugging in.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go for that.
So it should probably like this one.
Just on another matter, did you get the adapter that we talked about for the tourism forum?
Yes.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Because council having it on the Tuesday, the
13th is it January?
13th of January, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
It'll be in there all set up.
Right, so you need to go to
HDMI.
HDMI, that's the one.
Okay.
Right,
Being next, give me a second, let's just. Oh, this all we get? It would come in from first of April if accepted.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I'd like to get some extra in there.
Let's see.
Is that the same one ratings as well, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, see if I can get this all on fitting on there. Can people still see that?
Yeah.
Relatively
Well,
clearly?
It's on the piece of paper as well.
Sorry?
it's on the paper,
yeah,
yes. Yes, attachment 10.
Oh, yes, I've got it, no, it's fine, I can read it.
When you're ready?
Okay, thank you.
So this is the STBF revised budgets based upon the adjustments that we discussed at the last meeting. And I will just run through them line by line where we need to. Nothing's been changed with these figures other than what was agreed at that meeting. So when we looked at these figures before, at the moment on the screen and in the report you've got for the STBF is the overall group plus the individual elements, which is STBF, the Guildhall and the museum with the different levels of income. And because we're dealing with this in the opposite way to what we were last time, which was STC first, there is this codependence between the two, but just in isolation, I will just talk about STBF on this occasion. And at the present time, with the figures that we discussed last time, we've got, so I'll just run down through the lines there. We've got the Guildhall car park. If we ignore the overall group column and just look at the next three columns, we've got STBF, STBFGH, and museum. And I'll talk about the income lines there because I know that some people have asked me questions about this as to what they represent. At the present time, we've got the Guildhall car park income at 33,000 for the budget in the year, and that is because that's what we received in the previous year. We did have a fall in this last year when we eventually got the revenue come in 25-26, but that's because the running costs seem to be very, very high, and hopefully that won't be repeated going forward. So it's showing the level that we've had in previous years for that income stream there.
Sorry, could you just run through that again? So the figure there of 20,000, 25, 26, which obviously we haven't got yet.
No, 25, 26.
Came in.
Sorry?
No,
No, it hasn't.
no.
25, 26.
25 came in,
Sorry. do
and
apologise.
it's 30k plus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why would we show?
20,000 was what was put in the budget for 25,
Sorry,
26.
you're right, completely right. So
Yeah.
that will be hopefully expectedly
Yeah.
much higher.
It's very understated.
Yeah.
And that was what was put in the budget last year. So for whatever reason, that was what was put in there. 33,000 is actually what we received in recently, or 30,000, but 33 is what we received in the previous year.
Yep,
So
I understand, sorry.
that's the reason why it's not a ridiculous figure. It's a reasonable figure based upon what we've done in the past. Then the Guildhall hire charges. I'm just jumping across to the next one. STBF Guildhall. The Guildhall hire charges. I know that I was asked about why this figure is 20% up on previously. This is an estimated growth based upon what we've been talking about earlier, with things such as the weddings, and it's estimated. Plus, there are other new ideas to be marketed, which are hopefully going to be considered, which will also add to this. But we anticipate that with Paige in her position as the assistant, that and with Julian with some of the ideas that he's got, that we are going to be able to drive this revenue line. As I say, this is nothing different from what we had last time. It's just an explanation for what the figure is. And then the other figure that was changed in the income stream was the interest that we're going to receive from the investments, because I was asked to reduce it down. I was being overly optimistic because other things could come into play. We've done very, very well in this current year, but something could happen to affect it next year, economies and so forth. And so we may not realise the level that we're actually showing for the interest that's coming in from Quilter share investments. So I was asked to reduce that down.
A couple of things. Number one, it's not actually interest, it's dividends.
Yeah.
You know, so it would be better to quote it like that.
Yes, okay.
And I thought, you know, we got 65,000 was the drawdown that's happened or budgeted this year. And what we were saying is that we should try and reduce the amount of drawdown. And I thought we'd agreed that the drawdown for next budget was going to be lower. I thought at least down to 60,000, if not lower. I don't know what other people thought.
it was the investment that I was asked at the last one. I thought that to reduce down that because I had the investment from the Court Cheviot, the income from the Court Cheviot investments. I was asked to reduce down.
Right, so you've shown the income, the income or the dividends or the interest. You've shown that going from 48 to 60,000.
Yes.
But the drawdown, you've held basically at 65,000. Now, I thought we were going to reduce the drawdown on the investment, i.e. the sale of the capital shares.
That's not my memory of the meeting. But I mean, I can't, we can go back over the.
Recall agreeing that, but not to say it wasn't discussed. I can't remember.
Well, well, my comment then, let's discuss it now. My comment is if we're moving forward, we're saying that the drawdown on investment, we're running out of funds, we're drawing down more and more money out of the Toll Bridge Fund. As trustees and as the Finance Committee, we should be aiming to reduce the amount of drawdown of the capital investment. And I think we should, and I would propose that we reduce that to, I would like to see it down to 50,000, to be honest.
So
To start setting a trend.
So I'm just showing on what was on the figures that were previously there.
Yeah.
And we had 65 showing as the drawdown last time, and we had 70,000 showing as the income that was going to be generated from the investments. And so I was asked at the last meeting that my speculation on the income from the investments was optimistic and to reduce that down. So that was the figure that I adjusted. That was the figure that I was asked to do at the last meeting. I'm happy to change that around and to do it that the drawdown is less, but the drawdown was because that was what was being used previously. The drawdown figure is surely driven by something. I mean, those must be funds. The drawdown, drawing it down, the drawdown is driven by the requirement because we need the funds for something else. It was driven by something else. Yeah. So what's driving it?
STC.
Yeah. So the drawdown was driven by the requirement to repay for some of the payroll costs that were being funded. We've got this strange situation where we've got the money going from STC into the trust, and then from the trust back to STC. It makes it very unnecessarily complicated.
So if we change the drawdown figure here, there needs to be a compensating adjustment in the STC budget.
Yes, and then we didn't discuss reducing the contribution on the other side. So that's the reason why that.
And that would be my concern, is that the consequence, and I know we're in this room as the trustee, when we talk about the STC budget, we have expectations around what we want to achieve in terms of the precept. So, yeah, if anything reduces here in terms of income into the budgets, it'll have a negative consequence for STC budget.
Yes. So, Councillor Wild, were you asking to say something?
No, just a general point.
Okay. So you've reduced the dividend by 10,000.
I've reduced the income because the income I'd estimated the income was
Councillor Green's term dividend.
Yeah.
You've reduced that by 10,000, but have kept the drawdown at the same figure that we had last time.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. And you were of the view that the drawdown should
also have been reduced. Yes.
Well, should also, or were you seeking a reduction in both the drawdown and in the
dividends?
And the dividend?
Yeah, I think we've got to reduce. The dividend it can fluctuate quite a bit. The stock market has done quite well this year. I think in previous years the dividend was only mid 40,000 for the last few years. I haven't got that spreadsheet with me at the moment. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of up this year. To expect it to stay up, I think is quite is quite, optimistic. But we've already talked about staffing costs are going to be reduced next year. Yes, overall staffing costs are going to be reduced. You're talking about the drawdown is needed to fund the staffing costs. So if the staffing costs are being reduced, let's reduce the drawdown by the same amount.
The,
Keep it simple like that.
if, so we cannot take the staff costs in isolation though, because we've also agreed to a lot of maintenance for the next year, across the board, both in STC and in STBF. And that's an increase in the costs that are there. That we had a lot of other costs that are in there that we've taken out. But so the problem is if we take it out, we're going to be short in STC, and we'll be looking at increasing STC by more than 5%. So I know that the observation was made in the last meeting, and it was correct, that I had over-egged the return that we were going to get on the investments, because I was doing it based upon what we were doing this year, and I said, okay, in the first 6 months this year, we're going to, say in 12 months, we're going to achieve this much, and I put the same figure in for next year with a little, because that was, I thought, realistic, because we were showing 35,000, I think, in the first 6 months. To reduce that down, I think is something that we can do. But
understand the point. Let's move on. We can come to a vote on it. We can have a wider discussion with the rest of the council. But you can see my position. I don't support the maintaining the drawdown at 65,000.
But you are supportive of the reduction in the interest of league dividend.
Yeah.
That's a realistic thing, okay?
Well, I'm not, because what you're actually talking about there is a £12,000 increase on this year. It's going up 25%. You're expecting the dividend to increase 25% next year, which I think, as I said earlier, is optimistic.
Can I just as a diagram on the Charities Commission, there is a diagram of expenditure versus income in terms of the fund. In a very simple representation, it is showing, albeit still a gap, the gap is closing in terms of expenditure versus income.
Which the top line there is expenditure.
So that's expenditure, that's income
Yeah.
for the fund, and it is. And over the 2 years that we've been a council and also the trustee, the gap marginally closing.
What are we doing to close it even further, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah. But I'm going to have to wear another hat in the half an hour, or hopefully in 10 minutes.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay. That was the only items that changed above the line as far as the income were concerned. Everything else was in line with it. So I felt that I applied what I was asked to from the notes from the last meeting, but I understand if we change that. When we're looking at the cost below the line, the only alteration that's been made there is the item which is highlighted in red here, which is the pro forma and contingency costs that we originally had sitting at around about 94,900 and was agreed to be reduced down to 52,400, and that was a combination of, as I say, the pro formas and some of the maintenance costs that you said that you could make savings on.
Can I just mention one comment, if that's all right, Chair, regards the tennis club loan. It does need to be checked out, because I think they've got one more payment left.
There's one more payment.
Yes, they have. And that's something that needs to be looked into. Yeah, I totally agree. When we looked at this last time, they've come back to me and said that we've got £1,000 that needs to be invoiced for.
Which would be in this year, so that means it wouldn't be an income of 1,000 next year.
Yeah. Yes, it will come into this year. Yes, that's right. So that will need a bit. That's a valid point.
Okay. Any other questions, Councillor Ross?
Councillor Breen said staff costs should be reducing. Is that correct?
Yeah. That was what we were told in last week.
If you look across the 3 columns, they are actually increasing because payroll has been replaced by the management charge and contractors. So in the first case, that's gone up. In the second column, it's gone up. No, I think it's more or less static.
Well,
The
so-
third column is-
Sorry, if I'm looking at last year, the payroll costs in total were 248,000.
Yeah,
And this year, the STC management charges are 229,000. So it's come down nearly
no,
19,000.
the
Contractors
contractors
on
are part of the payroll.
Well, the total staff costs, how would we do?
So this again comes back to, sorry, I apologise, it comes back to the codependence between the two groups, because we've got all the payroll going into STC and then being recharged. What we choose to recharge across can be a figure plucked out of the air. And in some instances, it has been, because we weren't recharging, for example, the museum for the museum staff, or the payroll. And what we are talking about is the overall payroll costs that are going through STC, and then what we get, and then what we recharge across, or we can get away with recharging it across. When we looked at it at the last meeting, we looked at it as a whole group. We looked at STC, which was showing the full payroll costs, and we looked at what was being charged across, and the overall costs were less for the company, for payroll and for contractors. Now, we sat and discussed that last time, and everyone, and I thought that point had been agreed. I wasn't aware that it was not clear, but it will not increase in the payroll costs in this budget. They are lower.
Yeah.
It's just that the element that's coming across here.
Councillor Wells, you're still looking a bit puzzled about that.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect them to go up anyway because of cost of living increases.
Yeah, but equally, if you've got a more efficient operation,
Yeah, maybe static.
that static or reducing slightly.
Reducing.
Exactly.
They're
So,
not reducing.
well, one person's saying they are reducing,
They are.
and the other person's saying they're not. So can we have a figure, please?
Well, look, the first column is 248,450, which has been replaced by 229 plus 27,000, which is 255,000 total.
Okay.
So that's an increase.
Yeah.
The second column is 86,680, which is replaced by 33,000, 50,000, and the 33 plus 50, which is 83,000. So that's gone down.
Mhm.
But the third column has gone up by about 12,000. So 161,770 has been replaced by 147 management charge and 26,793 contractors, which is 173,793. So that's gone up by about 12,000.
Okay.
I appreciate that. I think the point is that the overall bill for Sandwich Town Council, including the toll bridge fund, the overall budget for next year is reduced against this year.
Yeah.
And so some of these charges that are coming through from STC should in turn kind of be reduced.
Okay.
Well, how do we want to cover that then? Is that covered in the next discussion? No?
Well, I understand the point you're making. We still have to cover the costs.
Yes.
And as I say, we still about the STC.
So we've already
Yes,
agreed an action to come with a detailed report
Yeah.
at February's meeting, is it? January's meeting, sorry.
Councillor Wells.
Sorry, could I just make a general point that I was always taught to believe that budget should balance. Income and expenditure account should balance, balance sheets should balance. But what we have here, the black line at the bottom, is these four columns are not balancing. So the first two are in surplus, but the third one is showing a deficit of 10,000, which if we're committing to that, we're committing to an overspend effectively.
So, if I may, the budget for the trust is the first column.
Yeah. That's
And-
in surplus.
Last year, the budget that was provided for the overall trust last year was a negative £18,000.
Yeah.
This year, it is a positive 2,700 or 2,800.
And that is for the overall trust. How we choose to split that amongst the sub-entities, it's the overall trust that must balance.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Because that is what will be, that's the accounts that will be published. Hopefully there are some inequalities between the different elements, and we could transfer monies in between the different elements to make it balance if we want to.
Yeah.
But it's the argument behind that. But I completely and utterly agree that we're showing some with a positive and some with a negative.
But it's still,
I just think that black line could be brought above the bottom line in some form.
You're saying that that's a matter of presentation, though?
Yeah, presentation, just to
Okay,
show
well,
we're agreeing a balanced budget.
the overall budget's still 5594 in credit. Or in the green, or whatever you want to refer to.
Well,
Casbury?
for me, the simple thing to do would just be to have a balancing factor or a contingency of 2797 for the overall group, as you call it, for the overall STBF. And then that would mean income and expenditure are balanced.
Right.
Presentation.
Where are we taking this now? We were asked to review the amended budget and then make a decision on this. We've pointed out that now one suggestion is that we really need to take some further reduction in terms of the drawdown the quilter, the drawdown of the quilter achievement. So I suppose we really need to have a view on that. On the other hand, the interest from quilter achievement has been reduced, as was certainly discussed at the last meeting. So the question then you take forward is, are we accepting this proposal as it is, or do we wish to modify it? But especially with the reference to the drawdown of the quilter achievement investment. That really is the nub of this, I think. Do we have any views? Well, bearing in mind, then whatever we do runs through to the next
So
section.
STBF isn't due to meet till March.
That's, yes.
Is that acceptable within the timescales of getting the STBF budget agreed?
It's absolutely fine from my point of
Next
view.
year, for next year.
For next year, it's absolutely fine from my point of view. The only worry is that it may be dependent upon the STC element and the support the STC will make on it, and that doesn't have till March next
No,
year.
it does not.
And so that's the complication with it.
So,
I've just changed those figures there for what's been paid between the individual elements, and it means that you're virtually all balanced by £7 on the museum. But the issue comes is that at the moment, if we reduce down the investment, the income from the investment, or we reduce down the drawdown any further, then the overall we will be. I can knock £20,000 off that now, and it just means that we will have a shortfall.
STC.
We will have a shortfall of £20,000.
Yeah.
That is what it means. And do we want to have a budget for here which is showing it as negative, or do we want to see it wiping its feet? And my argument would be that we need to show it wiping its feet and actually balancing. But that's for discussion.
So, well, folks, what do you want?
so
I'm happy to.
my view is we should vote on whether we accept that as it stands at the moment. We have another finance of STBF in January, February, before the full STBF meets.
Yeah.
The STC budget will have been approved in January, hopefully. And then we can impact back against this after that STC approval or not. That would be my view, that there's a timeline here, and STC has to move quicker.
I'm happy to support this as it is at the moment, with the proviso that as we move into the new year, every effort is made to reduce the drawdown of the capital sum. That we have the objective of reducing the drawdown, and that's absolute kind of policy.
One of the things I proposed at the last meeting was that was just to answer that, one of the things we proposed at the last meeting was to actually not draw down until the end of the year, because we can put in the charges for costs of staff if we're going to recharge for the staff, but we don't have to actually pay it across, we can accrue it. And by doing that, we can leave that withdrawal until the end of the year. So if the requirement isn't there, we just don't do it. And then the option there is to actually reduce it down to whatever is required. And if it's only 30,000, because we've been incredible, then it's only 30,000. But it does give us the choice to actually act based upon what the situation is, and vary it. But that's all I would say with that. So I apologise for jumping in.
So I'd like to second.
Last comment from Councillor.
I share the view that the drawdown should be the minimum that's absolutely required. And I welcome Councillor Breen's suggestion that we do it that way in accordance with the timetable.
He said, the RFO sort of said, we won't, because we're going doing the counts differently, we're not actually drawing down until the very last moment. We won't know until the very last session just how much we're able to draw down. Whereas, are you suggesting we have a regular review, I don't know, quarterly, 6 monthly, to say how much can we reduce the drawdown by? Because if you don't do a review,
We'll have to review, yeah, we should.
Okay.
Review at least at the 6 months stage.
okay, so the proposal is then that we accept this budget as stands, with the caveat that we will put greater emphasis upon reducing the drawdown and take a review how that is progressing after 6 months. The final figure will not be known until the end of the financial year. Is that correct? Now,
The variance report will show our progress every single month.
yes,
So
of
you'll
course,
have
that could be
covered.
positive or negative.
Yes, absolutely. But you will see what it is, and after 6 months, if it's ahead of the game, then you can make it. You can actually get a feel for the fact that okay, it looks like we're working in the right direction.
So is that a proposal that we want to take forward? Councillor Armstrong, will you ask me to?
No, I was nodding.
Oh, right. Okay, so if that's the proposal, can I get a second, please? Councillor Pennington, vote, please.
Yeah, let's move on.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Right. Water closure of the museum.
Easy.
Yes, no, right.
Second.
Rose, second closure. Right, thank you. 2512. Considering we're going to be discussing the same thing at the next part of the next meeting, do we need to discuss this twice? I'm quite happy to defer this to the SDC vote.
Well, the only issue is with the STC bit is that we haven't had any papers issued to support the discussion. So I've hunted, I can't find them.
May I suggest that the amended report is hopefully going to go to an an STBF EGM in
Yes, it
February.
is.
And whilst we could receive the report, I don't know whether there's an enormous amount of benefit in having a lengthy discussion on something that's been seen already and has been amended and will be going to an EGM in February. And
Yeah, I've just got one.
it is up to councillors, but if time is pressing, I think that is the point.
Well, we had 5 specific issues, but Councillor Tooby, you wanted to make a point.
Yeah, I've got a number of points, but the one that I want to entertain others with at the moment is the option 3. Personally, I can't support that at all, and I suspect there'll be other trustee members who will also not support it. And therefore, I would be very loath to support spending money on external advice on something that wouldn't necessarily be adopted. So I would like to test that, and it would be in the full STBF where there is a vote on that being an option. So I don't want to undermine the other 2 options. I would seriously want to see that as being a separate vote.
Sorry, I thought that we had specifically that the meeting with Councillor Breen and Councillor Graham was self. I thought we were clear that we would be able to do a almost a zero cost option to get the
Well,
advice?
yeah, that's kind of where we got to.
Yes.
With kind of Councillor Gray, because Councillor Gray felt that we could, well, his main input was onto option 2, but he felt that folding a charity is quite a straightforward process if sufficient number of members vote for it. And I think why it's still in the paper is because we're looking at a long-term option here. And it is because we should consider all options available. And to be quite frank, you know, we've set out a roadmap now as to a process that we're going to go to. And to have people jumping to conclusions as to what we will do and what we won't do is not really helpful at this stage. And for me, the Sandwich Toll Bridge Fund was born out of the local government reorganisation, which it said in the original report. It was born out of the local government reorganisation, and it might just be with the new local government organisation. We should consider, and it's just nobody's saying we should do it, but we should just not rule anything out at this stage. And we're not asking to spend any money on it. We're just asking
Okay,
to,
so that's a
to
good point.
do a
That's
feasibility
a good
review.
point. However, this is a very, very sensitive issue in terms of a charity. And I'm just saying, as a member trustee, that I would like the trustee to be given the opportunity to see whether that should be on the table or not. Because as soon as it's on the table as part of the options, it's then a communication outwards that we are using it as one of the options to look at. So that's all I'm saying. And the vote may well be fully supportive, and it should be looked at.
But what we're saying is that we're going to go through a process of doing a feasibility study, and then we have a governance check and a review, and then we do a detailed study, and we have so we're going through so if it falls after the feasibility study, fine, I'm comfortable with that. But to drop it off as an option without considering it and without putting it on the table, I think is short-sighted, and we could face criticism for not doing so.
Councillor Wines first, then Councillor Anderson.
Yeah, I think my view on this is congratulations to the working group and
Yes,
the work you've done with Councillor Gray on tweaking this report. It's clearly now in a fit state to go forward to the trustee. We can't do anything with this report tonight because the recommendations talk about the trustee. We are not the trustee.
Mhm.
So my recommendation is that we recommend this to the trustee for discussion, and that this report should be sent to all councillors now
Yes.
for their input, because I know for a fact that some of our councillors will be very keen to express their views about the contents of this report. And if they're given a chance to comment on it before it comes to the STBF, then it would perhaps
They won't be able
head off any
They
problems.
can't comment on it before. We have to do this transparently, so we can give it to socialise it, and we should
Well,
not enter into
I was
exchanges
going
of
to
opinions.
suggest,
If we can say it's still a draft report and we're asking for councillor input.
we'd like the council input, but we specifically, there's two parts to that council input. One is we're not seeking opinions per se, and that should be crystal clear. But we ask if there's some factual errors
Exactly.
or factual, they should be, that's quite legitimate to raise them. But we are not asking for a great amount of options. I like it, option 3, or I hate option 3. That's for the discussion at the meeting. Okay, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. As I understand it, it's not an option for a charity to transfer its assets to a body that is not another charity. If that is the case, then that's what I've
Well,
always understood, having been engaged with the charity sector for some time. Perhaps I could carry on. I have always understood that if you close a charity, you can only do so if you transfer all its remaining assets to another charity.
can I say, where we are is there's a lot of thought that people think they know this and people think they know that.
Yes.
One of the big issues for me and why I was keen to have a legal review is Councillor Gray queried, what legislation are you on about? There was a major Charities Act introduced in 2022. There's been no proper briefing brought to the trustee to talk about the implications of it. In 2011, there was another major Charity Act, and that introduced a lot of legislation to do with the disposal of assets from a charity. Now, I would really question whether the car park that was disposed of actually followed and met all of the criteria of the new charity legislation. Charity legislation has changed enormously since the Tollbridge charity was set up. And I think we as trustees should have a proper briefing on what we're doing, because all of this money that's been transferred without purchase orders, without formal invoices, going out of the charity, going to Sandwich Town Council or others, I don't believe really complies with, in my sense, what I would like. That's why I wanted a proper legal review, somebody to do a cold eyes review on all of this. So we need, there's a lot of speculation about what people think is needed. What we need is to get some proper data from the charities, and the suggestion now is Councillor Gray with the town clerk and the mayor are going to go to the Charities Commission. The last time we discussed this, you very helpfully said we could really do with a list of questions we would like to ask. We've drafted a list of questions, and we're now in a position where we've got the start of the basis to understand, are we actually acting compliantly? Are we doing things right? Can we do things different? Or maybe we might get told by the Charity Commission, you're unfit to run a charity.
The Charity Commission, I would suggest that the Charity Commission should be simply asked a question. Could we close the Tollbridge charity, farm charity, and transfer all the assets to a council?
Well,
I suspect the answer will be no.
Well, I think there's a number of questions. We shouldn't just ask one question. There are a number of questions.
That's a very simple question to start with, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Well, yes and no. It's one of the questions that needs to be asked, but it's a number of questions. So I don't think that precludes, because what we're actually trying to say is that we undertake a feasibility review and to understand that, and that there should be specific inquiry on the feasibility review, which would include all of the three options, and that we would seek that information initially from the Charity Commission and the Charities Aid Foundation. Just to go to ask the Charities Commission one part is insufficient, because we have additional complications about whether charities are really here to maintain the sort of operational buildings. And you'll see there's an additional paper being added going back to the 1970s, I think it is, 83, about the Fishergate. So we've actually got an extremely complicated set of questions for the Charities Commission. What I think we want to do is, do we want to agree to the roadmap, and that agree to start the feasibility review? That is,
Councillor Black, it was agreed at the last meeting that this would go to the STC, the EGM.
Yes, it will do, but this is the stage before that. Or are we saying that, that we just...
We can't agree this tonight, because we agreed at the last meeting that this would go to the EGM in February. We cannot agree a roadmap.
Then all we do today is note the report.
Note it and recommend it to...
And recommend it to all councillors, with the caveat that we are seeking corrections to factual information. We are not seeking a whole barrage of opinion about I like option 3 or I don't like option 3. Pardon? Well, okay, what else are we supposed to do, Councillor Ferguson?
I'm cracking a joke. but
I understand that, we've got, that's realism.
No, there is an alternative, which is you share it to socialise the report in advance of the meeting
Yes.
that you agreed to have. And that's it. What it is not is an exchange of opinions or questions or facts, because then what we're doing is we're reviewing papers and reports away from a public meeting.
So you-
And whilst it's a trustee, it's still the same in my opinion.
So your proposal is that we just give them the facts and don't ask for,
You
Give
give
them the report.
Well, you give them the report.
and say this will be discussed at the
Yeah,
EGM.
We're moving towards having an
Councillor Black,
EGM.
I can send out an email and it will say, dear councillors, this report was noted, there's a lot of information in it,
Yes,
therefore,
you need to.
I'm sending it
To all
to
of
you
you.
now, but it can't be discussed before the EGM that has been proposed for February. Now, there are 2 dates that have been proposed. It was also agreed that key councillors needed to be there, and I still need confirmation from those key councillors that they will be able to attend one or other of those dates. So I'm waiting for that. The 11th and the 25th of February.
Okay, so,
Sorry, I would just flag up the proposal that, from a personal perspective, my capacity is very limited, so I'm just slightly fearful of the amount of time I can spend on this alongside everything else that I'm doing. I just want to flag that up. If I end up finding myself in the seat of driving it myself, it might prove difficult in terms of doing it at pace.
right, so,
Because, sorry, just to mention, and it is relevant, DDC want to talk about the sandwich agreement. They want to talk about the Guildhall.
Mhm.
That is going to take focus, and I will be looking for support on this because I'm not able to do everything by my own. They want to enter into negotiations on that. We've got separate things in the council, which I can list, that is long, but the sandwich agreement is a key piece of information that we will be expected
So-
to discuss.
the wider issue is more councillors providing support to you.
It will be helpful.
Well, it's essential.
Yeah.
And if they don't,
Mhm.
they take the consequences. Well, you do have, there are many in this room who do provide additional support. Of course. Right,
So we still
So
don't have
are
a
we
date
just
for the EGM that has been, we still don't have a date for this.
And this,
Because,
I presume, is it the chairs or who?
well, I think it was agreed that Councillor Green was needed to be present at the EGM in February.
I'm not available at the beginning of February.
So are you available on the 25th of February? Because I can't fix a date.
I will be available then, but I will have had very limited capacity to pick up on anything that develops between now and then.
I'm hoping nothing does.
Well, you know, I'm happy,
So
I'm happy with the
shall I-
25th of February.
Right,
If
thanks,
it's this report that we're going to
Yeah.
kind of be discussing, and as you say, this is so complicated because of the parties that are involved,
Yeah.
because of things that are moving on the outside. And that's why, in my mind, nothing should be ruled out. But it would just be nice to be able to go along and have some facts about, or some answers to some of the questions that have been indicated here, as opposed to just waiting till the end of February to
Well, we have
agree
to.
we can ask.
Because
So I think there are a set of questions here that could be used as an opening discussion with the Charity Commission.
But we can't do that until after this EGM that was agreed
Because
at
the
the last
trustees-
time.
You're right. The report has not been adopted
No.
by the trustee. You're completely right.
Sorry.
So-
Sorry, you're right.
It was hoped it could be done in January, but there's not a single Monday or Wednesday free in January.
Mhm.
So then the only 2 Wednesdays that are free in February are the 11th and 25th, and the 25th is the date that is available. So that's it.
And then my concern is, if you issue this now, you're going to have 2.5 months of things batting backwards and forwards with.
Well, no, if I send a covering email saying, I'm giving you time to read it, that's it, full stop. But it's not for discussion until the meeting, because that would be.
As Councillor Angus has said, good luck with this.
I don't want to see it on council emails. Of course, people can talk to their friends, but it shouldn't be discussed on council emails
Or in the social media.
or on social media.
That's what I like.
But it will-
Well,
Well, we
we
want
have a
to.
social media policy that we should not be
I
bringing the
think,
council
I
into
think it should
disrepute.
be, the paper should be held,
Until.
well, if all of these,
The paper
committee
is
reports go,
in the public forum.
yeah, it's in the public forum, so I don't see any need to kind of promote it until a couple of weeks before the 25th of
I
February.
wouldn't issue it for, beginning of February, so.
It's already out there.
Right, so let's have a proposal. Now, we propose the following, that we note this report. We agree that it should be sent to all councillors, but that is deferred until, let's say, 3 to 4 weeks before we have a definite EGM date. Once you've got the definite EGM date, then issue it 3 or 4 weeks before that date. Is that acceptable to people?
As opposed to 3 days before.
Oh, yeah.
It is on the website right now.
So I think to some extent, it's a moot point.
I can send it, I send an email saying the report was received, it's ready to go, please, here's a copy, go find it, go read it.
I think I don't think you don't need to circulate the report. The report is available. I think you could just send an email out a couple of weeks before the meeting. So this meeting's coming up. If you want to do some homework beforehand, the report has already gone to the trust the committee.
All right, so
I can guarantee certain people will not do that. And there will be all hell going on at the meeting.
Well,
whatever we do,
We can't.
Councillor Wells.
Just a kind of a finer point on this is, in this document here is the summary of the assets working group report. Now, following the meeting with Councillor Weil, Councillor Gray,
Great.
some of the detail of that kind of does need changing, but I haven't changed it.
In this report.
Right.
But
That's
you
fine.
know, it's
Yeah.
finer detail which was intended to be used as backup to be able to brief the Charity Commission or brief the Charities Aid Foundation or brief others.
Chair, can we move on? Because I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got another meeting.
I think, we have done a meeting. I'm happy to support proposals.
Right.
What
So,
you said.
the
And also
proposals
to add
we
that we congratulate the
Yes.
councillors involved in
Yeah.
bringing this report.
Okay.
And perhaps just leave it to the town clerk's discretion as to how
That's
it's.
how we publicise it. Okay, so we note, the proposal is that we note this, it will be discussed at the EGM date, still to be advised, and that council will be told that information is on the website, but reminded of that 2 to 3 weeks before the EGM, whenever that is established.
Yep.
That's my proposal. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Wiles, and can I have a vote, please? Unanimous. One last item then, date and time of the next meeting, which is Wednesday, the 21st of January, 2026. Right, thank you, everyone. It's been a bit of a haul. No doubt the next meeting will go more smoothly. Thank you.